What's up? So I got a question here from Johan. He's been offered a job in active duty in the military flying helicopters. Says he loves flying helicopters, but he's not so sure he wants to make a career out of it. In addition, he wouldn't have even considered joining the Army if it was in another career field, if it wasn't flying. The logical decision, he says, would seem to be don't join. But there is this fear he's been having, and he calls it in all bold capitals, fear of regret. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and for my age, 32, this will be absolutely my last chance to join the military as an aviator. In one way, I feel it's a better decision to not join, but another way, I'm so afraid that my views may change a few years down the road and I'll live with the regret the rest of my life. I'm completely torn on this. Are there any words of advice you may have? I'd greatly appreciate it. Thanks, Johan. Listen, man, first of all, the advice that I would give will never be to do this or do that. That's not going to be it. But the advice I would have for you is start to look at the language that you're using in this decision process, because the language can be a clue to where you're coming from. Essentially, it sounds like if you did do this, you would be doing it because you fear that you may regret it at one point. And I just have a principle. My particular principle for living is don't do anything because I'm afraid. If I didn't do it, then I wouldn't be okay. I don't live my life out of fear. Because if I live my life based on the things that I'm afraid of, then I manifest a light that's born from fear. I manifest a light. I manifest light because I do that, because I have godly power, I manifest light. No, I'm manifesting a life born from fear. And I don't want to create a life from fear. I'd much rather create a life from love, from what I would love to do, what's coming from my imagination, what would I love to do. So when I ask you, what would you love? Would you love to join the Army? Would you love to join the Army and fly for the Army? I know that you'd love to fly, but would you also love to join the Army? For me, I had a personal experience. Now, caveat, I'm going to tell you my personal experience with the potential military, but please hear it as a separate thing. Allow it to come in as stuff you consider, but don't follow me. I'm really kind of adamant about people not following other people's paths and stuff like that. So this is my path, and if you follow my path, you're going to get my life, which isn't going to be your unique life. But anyway, I was on the Air Force ROTC officer training program in university and for the Air Force, and I was on the path to fly as well. I wasn't fully accepted necessarily yet, but I had done really well on the written test, really high scores. I've done some Civil Air Patrol flights, and it would have been pretty likely that I would have gotten to flight school and ended up becoming a fighter pilot. However, right before I had to sign my life away, the sign on the dotted line, and then I'm committed, active duty, after university, boom, you're in. Right before that happened, I went to study abroad in Australia, and I got a different perspective of the world. And for me, it just became clear that although I wanted to fly, I didn't want the other things that went along with being in the military. And essentially, I didn't want to kill people. That was my particular thing. I stopped believing in war, I stopped believing in murder, and I decided I didn't want to kill people. Now, that's not to put judgment on what other people are doing, and if they find their ways to justify that, I think it's great. That wasn't my thing, and so I decided to pull out at the last minute and not go forward and serve in the military. Now, I'm not telling you that because I think that's what you should do. I'm telling you that because I've experienced having something you love to do. I dreamed of flying, and at the same time, it offered to me in a way that also had things that I didn't want. And so that didn't become the thing that I did anymore. I don't look for boxes in the world to try to fit in so that I can have some of what I want. I create boxes in the world. And so my life now is the result of what would I love. And I'm not going to make sacrifices. I'm not going to do things because it's kind of what I've loved, so let me just sit in that box. I'll take the shit I don't like and have some of the shit I do like. Forget that. The whole perspective that you have to find a box to have satisfaction in life is a trap, because there is no box that will satisfy you fully, because your heart is unique. So create from your heart. Create your own box. Create your own life. That's my particular way of being. And if my advice to you or anything, it would be to figure out what it is, that thing you'd most love, and don't give up on the possibility that you could create that in all its aspects, in all its different ways. And don't sacrifice any of it. And don't live your life out of fear. Don't do things because you're afraid. And then you manifest a life that's based on fear. And when is that going to stop? When are you going to stop doing things out of fear? Now, I know it sounds like I'm prescribing, but I'm not. I'm teaching you a principle that I live by. And what I want you to do is have another think about how you're using the language and what's really true for you. Is it something you'd love, or is it something you fear? And if it's something you love, I encourage you to move towards that. Otherwise, you manifest a life of fear. Much love, brother. Good luck. And either way, your life's going to be perfect. Take care.